You see, people, what makes you think I'm not on the traditional understanding of Islam? I am on the traditional understanding of Islam. It's just because you see me looking a bit modern, that's all. So you're assuming that I'm not on the understanding. That problem lies in your head, not with me. What do you have to say about Halloween? Is it permissible? I believe it's permissible. I believe Thanksgiving and things like that are not haram. Valentine's. So there is no overwhelming conclusive evidence that this is haram. You said it's okay to go to Christmas parties. I did indeed. You can go to parties. You can go, yaar. Those of you that are celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. The thing about shisha takes the same ruling as smoking. So I don't believe it's haram. I believe it's perhaps makruh, discouraged. Would income from a shisha cafe be classed as haram? I don't believe it would be haram. Marijuana, these things are more a matter of legality. I do not believe they are a shari'i issue. You see, they should really kind of legalize things like marijuana, because they will then cut away all that kind of nastiness and all this and allow just a very kind of regulated brand to be produced for people who want it. Hair extensions are not haram. These kind of raffle tickets that are done, in my understanding, it is permissible. But I don't believe it's haram to swear. General, like if I said F that, what's the big, why would that be haram? Are we allowed to join the British Army? I feel that yes, we are. Can a woman wear perfumes in public? Waqar Hassan, yes, she can. People thought that, okay, all kind of idols, all kind of things, statues, anything based on that are haram within Islam. This demonstrates these things were not haram. I believe adoption, sajida, is not only permissible, it's encouraged. Answered about tattoos previously, that I don't feel that they're haram, as long as they're not entirely disfiguring. You say things like, oh, a woman cutting her hair or a woman plucking eyebrows is haram, deserves punishment. I mean, what kind of ridiculous. You see, when you put it in perspective like that, it sounds absurd. And I'm disappointed in places like the UK that as a secular state, that it hasn't allowed euthanasia and hasn't legalized it. I do feel that countries like the UK should. You see, there's no such thing as a haram haircut. It's like a kind of Botox before the lips, a lip augmentation to kind of like fill it up. I don't believe that's haram. Hiba, in my opinion, no, music is not haram. Why are gold and silver utensils impermissible? They are permissible in my understanding. Isn't backbiting freedom of expression? Yes, it is. And that's why I said backbiting isn't necessarily haram in my understanding. You can also listen to my lecture on interest. I believe that it is permissible. I have explained why. Like lying in and of itself, if it has no harm, is not haram. Whosoever forces their child to wear a hijab has betrayed Allah and His Messenger. I can take an oath by that. These people, they have betrayed Allah and His Messenger. Why couldn't gold be mu'allal, attached to arrogance? I mean, I don't know. The Prophet ﷺ said it is haram, and it's been pretty much deemed haram by most. I'm not aware of any kind of differences of opinion on that. Right, so many people feel the gold is just categorical haram. Some ulama felt that it wasn't. It was either makruh, based on it being to kind of keep people away from that luxury. And that's what I'm in line with. I'm in line with these kind of ulama on this mas'ala. What is this second gaze, third gaze? What is this? What is this kind of nonsense that people go on about? Okay, you can meet somebody in public and you can chat to them and you can get to know them. People say, oh, you're going to flirt, but that's natural, you're going to flirt. Duh, you're going to flirt. That's like, what else are you going to do? It is permissible, okay? It's not haram. Masturbation is not haram. I've been asked about oral sex and I've been asked about anal sex. The thing is that according to the school of Medina, when a couple are behind closed doors, it's all a green light zone. What do we have to say about these dolls? Okay, these dolls that are coming out, I don't know if you've seen them, right? That they're preparing these artificial, intelligent kind of dolls, that companion dolls. I think one's called Harmony. First of all, the ruling in Islam is, I don't think it's haram. Do you personally view mut'a as halal? I am inclined towards Ibn Ashur's view that it is not haram. وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. But do not approach this particular tree, lest you should transgress. Now it's interesting, what was this tree that Allah was speaking about? This was, was a metaphor, figurative, for sexual contact. What is your views on supporting the civil rights of the LGBTQ? Oh, is there a Q at the end as well? Community. The thing, Hassan, is that I believe we should support their rights. I mean, there's, like I said, you know, this thing about the punishment of the grave and stuff like that. In my understanding, if people want to believe in it, they can. But I believe there's that diversity in this kind of thing. You can believe in it, or you don't have to believe. Do I believe in Gog and Magog? It's not about Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj in the Quran. The question is, what are these things? I am actually I do find myself in line with that it was referring to colonialism. In my understanding, that the Prophet was warning of a Dajjal, and that was the future that we will witness. In my understanding, we have already embarked upon a time where the actual and the real is blurring slightly with the virtual. And I feel that in the decades to come, virtual reality and artificial intelligence will take over. And I don't mean take over like in the Terminator way, but they will overwhelm and engulf our world. Is there such thing as an Antichrist who will come towards the end of time? The Messiah, the Mahdi. Now, you see, for some reason, this belief is widespread amongst Muslims, along with the belief of the second coming of Jesus. And this is Christian doctrine which has crept into Islamic sources and been misinterpreted by Muslims and passed on as the Prophet having said this. Nazar, Ahkamun Nazar, Al-Ain, all these kind of things. I don't really believe in these kind of things, and I see them to be part of superstition, really. And do you think it's true that magic can hurt somebody remotely? I answered this previously. No, I do not. Magic and things like this. Magic at best is either trickery or illusions or hypnosis. Mind control is what magic is. So things like that and evil eye don't really exist. Evil eye. Evil eye, people, evil eye. Oh, somebody's done a magic spell on me. Oh, the evil eye. Oh, the magic spell. All this is nonsense. There is no such thing as this evil eye or these kind of magic spells going on. What advice do I give to to converts about their non-Muslim parents? I personally say don't preach to them. That's my personal thing. I'm not into this preaching culture. People say, yeah, but Stephen Hawking never accepted God. Of course he didn't. Let's be honest. Wallahi, let's be honest for a moment. We would not accept Islam if we were not born Muslim. Let's be honest. I would never. I don't instruct people around me to pray, for example. I would never instruct my wife or instruct somebody, say, oh, you haven't prayed Dhuhr, get up and pray Dhuhr. So we're chucking out a huge chunk of Muslims every day. And then we're obsessed about bringing in new Muslims. Why? Why do you want to bring in, why do you want to bring them into this mess? Say, I converted people to Islam. Honestly, what good is that? What is there for these people once they convert to Islam? Nothing. There's nothing for Muslims, let alone them. Nobody is there for these people. What's your opinion on dawah, guys, in the UK? I think it's a tragedy. I honestly believe we shouldn't be giving dawah, enough. I feel that the Quran came to us in a time primarily addressing the people it came to. There are several rulings which primarily came to address the people the Quran was revealed in. Now, hudud is one of those things. Once again, it came in line with trajectory hermeneutics, that as human ethics would continue to develop, these rulings would change. So that's the one thing I disagree. That's the one thing that I think that today the Sharia would teach differently. That the Sharia would mandate that, okay, this is, you wouldn't today chop hands, but you would do all these other things. Question: what are your views regarding apostasy and its punishment within Islam? It makes no sense to have an apostasy ruling. Do you believe in the use of capital punishment within our times? So I do not believe in capital punishment in this age, and I don't believe in any system that pushes capital punishment. What do we do as society moves on? These rulings should also kind of adapt to the social problem. I am against this kind of blasting the adhan on loudspeakers when you're surrounded by non-Muslims. I would say even if it was a Muslim country, it's wrong. Look, it's not, you don't need to constantly tell people, ain't dumb, they know it's time for salah. My understanding would be that women do not lead men in prayer, generally speaking. Although if they did lead a man in prayer, would the salah be valid? I believe that the salah would be valid. About Abu Talib radiallahu anh, if you want to accept that he was a Muslim, I personally, in my understanding, feel that, I feel it isn't convincing that he died a non-Muslim. And this ruling still exists in the Maliki madhab today. He said that the wife would inherit 50% of everything before the inheritance is even split. I totally agree with that. I agree with his ruling, totally. Does it mean it actually is a garden? No, it doesn't mean that it has to actually be a garden. We don't know what it is. The fire of hell. But does it mean it has to be fire and it has to be? It doesn't have to be like that. What's to say there'll be gender in the afterlife? When a child asks that how are babies born, and the way a parent responds by saying something like the stork theory, or they come from hospitals, or from the mother's tummy, none of these things are actually true. But does the parent actually consider himself to be lying? If Allah was to speak in categorical truths to us, nobody would accept the message. What's your reason in why Allah had only male prophets and messengers? I believe there were female prophets as well. Why weren't there female prophets? I believe Maryam alayhi salam was a prophet of God. People have asked about examinations. I have said that, look, if you're going to struggle or it's going to affect you, you can miss that fast and make it up later on in the year. If we're to be honest, Europe is much freer intellectually and thereby potentially closer to Tawheed than many Muslims. I myself do fall in line with that understanding, that it was a vision, a spiritual, truthful vision. It wasn't a physical journey in my understanding. Did Jesus actually speak in the cradle? Says who? He spoke in the cradle. Because you're going by the understanding he was a little baby and he spoke in the cradle. First of all, it says nothing like that in the Quran. Somebody has asked a question here about Jesus having a father. You see, the question is not the Quran. Right now, I'm only going by what is in the Quran. What we do is we put all the verses of the Quran in front of us about Jesus, his birth. Nowhere in the Quran, first of all, does it mention that Mary was a virgin. Nowhere. In fact, this is not even an Islamic concept to refer to Mary as the Virgin Mary. Now, in my understanding, that it was not a snake. Okay, when he threw the thing, it was not a snake. But it was described as though it was a snake. Kind of trembled and it crumbled. Now people here believe that, oh, the mountain completely collapsed. It didn't. Nobody's saying the mountain completely collapsed. What does that mean? That was the eruption. And tajalla here was the manifestation through the power of the majesty of Allah at work in nature. Not Allah actually manifesting to the mountain as people believed in the past, that Allah actually showed himself to the mountain. That's so silly. That's absurd. Right, the Ibrahim entering the fire, I've answered that before. Nowhere in the Quran does it actually mention that Abraham was thrown into the fire. It doesn't mention that anywhere. It mentions Allah saved him from the fire. Okay, saved him from it. Some people understood from that it must have meant he was thrown in it and then saved. That doesn't have to be the case. The hurricane, if it had winds of speeds of, like, let's say 80 miles per hour, which is very reasonable, it could have pushed the Gulf of Aqaba, the sea, the kind of water there, to anything between 600, 700, 800 yards back. It could have easily done that. And it's interesting that when the wind stops, how research will show, and even actual events, the water just gushes forth. It was like, if you read the actual verse of the Quran describing Hudhud, and on several occasions, it seems very clear that this is a particular person that Sulaiman alayhi salam is addressing. Was it a person of a particular group? Some Mufassirin have said it was a group, like his version of what would be modern day intelligentsia. So his intelligence kind of, and he was upset that they weren't, because his intelligence had to be on point. You know, that when he says فَتَفَقَّدَ الطَّيْرِ, that he couldn't find, and they say he called this group طَيْر because they were like birds, that they would be like falcon-eyed, that they were the intelligentsia. That, did you not see? And when you threw stones at them. So he says that the people stoning them were the people of Quraysh. That they kind of catapulted the elephants. And until that they used the kind of tools that they had, and they threw this until the kind of elephants dispersed and the people got kind of they got kind of trampled over and stuff like this. Did Nuh alayhi salam live for 950 years? No, he did not. Huh? You going against the Quran? You kafir?